Hello and welcome to the short lesson where we're going to show you how to create and deploy a personal website with Quarto and GitHub pages. Let's get started. So here's the website you're going to be creating during this video. It's going to have a home page where you have your name and about you and some social links. It's going to have a portfolio page where you can put examples of your analyses, and it's going to have a CV page where you can embed a PDF CV. So before you start this video, maybe go grab your CV PDF and also go grab a nice profile picture that you can use as well. So the first thing we're going to do is open up our RStudio, and then we're going to click on File and then New Project, and we're going to click on New Directory. We need to go through the New Directory option rather than Existing Directory, because it gives us these options to create different project types. And the type of project we're going to create is a Quarto blog. So not a Quarto website, but a Quarto blog, because the blog is a nicer kind of website for what we want to build. So let's click on Quarto blog, and we can give it any name we want. For now, I'm just going to call it my_website. And I'll click on Create Project. Make sure you save it in a reasonable place on your computer. Okay, now if you go to your Files tab here, you're going to see a load of different files that are part of this project, and we're going to talk about all of them in a second. But once you've created this project, you can directly render the existing website, the template website. So I'm going to do that. There's two ways you can do it. If you have any of the Quarto markdown files open, either the index or the about, there's a render button here. Alternatively, you can show the build tab of your RStudio, and there's a render website. I'm going to use this option for now. And this is what that website looks like. Let me open it up in my browser. So I'm going to click on this button to open up in a new window. That way it's easier to show this full screen view. Okay, so here's the website. As you can see, you have two blog posts or two posts. Post with code. And if we go back, we also have the welcome to my blog. And then you have the about page here at the top right. And you also have a bunch of social media links. And you also have this search bar that lets you search through the website. So this is the basic structure of the template website. And we're just going to make a few modifications to make it look a bit nicer. The first thing we want to do is we want to move most of the menu items over to this left-hand side. And the menu items we want to have are a home, a projects page, and then also a CV page. So the home is going to be the introduction to the person. The projects page is going to be this blogs page. And then on the CV, we're going to embed a CV, a PDF CV. Okay, so for now I can close this, and let's see what files I need to modify to make those changes. If you go to the Files tab here, the most important files we need to think about are this quarto.yml and then the QMD files. Each QMD file represents one page. And inside of the posts folder, you're going to have these two subfolders, which themselves have QMD files. Okay, so for example, this post with code index.qmd, as you can see, it says written by Harlow Mylock, post with code. This is a post with executable code. That is actually this post here, post with code. This is a post with executable code. So let's go back up one level. And so like I said, the important things are the quarto.yml and then the QMD files. Those are the most important things. Now to make the process of editing a bit easier, I have put my web browser, which has the preview of the website, on the right. And then I have RStudio on the left. Okay, so let's look at this quarto.yml file. YML, by the way, stands for YAML. I think you're familiar with YAML from R Markdown. The first two lines define what type of project it is. And then here we have a bunch of options for the website. The first thing we want to change, of course, is this title. Since we're creating a personal portfolio website, we should make it our name. So I set that to Kenneth David Nwosu. And once I save, usually it will update this. So now you can see at the title at the top left, it now goes to Kenneth David Nwosu. And you may notice that this thing is a clickable link. So this logo thing at the top left is a clickable link. And when we click on it, it goes to this home page here. The home page happens to be the index.qmd. And as you can see, index.qmd is a listing of posts. Okay, so clicking on the logo takes us to the home page, which is an index. Hopefully you remember that the index file is always considered as the home page, and that is a listing of posts. So that's just something to keep in mind. And the next thing we have is this nav bar section here, which defines the menu bar. Now what we would like to do is add a menu on this left hand side, because that's typically where your website menus should go. So under the nav bar, we're going to add a new option, and we'll say left. And you have to be very careful about the tabs that you put here before the text, because YAML is very sensitive to those tabs. Okay, so make sure that this left here is perfectly aligned with the right. So on the left hand side, I'm going to press enter once, and then press my hyphen key, and I'm going to add one menu item that will just say text for now. Text is the home. Okay, and if you save that, you're going to see home will appear here on the left of your menu bar, and we can duplicate this to create two more. And I need to get the right level of tabs there, and this is going to be called portfolio. And then the last one is going to be called CV. Okay, so we want to have a home page, and then a portfolio page, and then a page where we're going to embed our CV. Those are the three different pages we're going to have on the menu. So let's quickly create 3 files that will represent our home, our portfolio, and our CV. Each of these is going to be its own QMD file. So I'm going to go to my Files tab here, and I need to create 3 files. I'll start with the CV. I'll tell you why I'm starting with the CV in a second. Let's just start with the CV, and we say cv.qmd. Okay, so now that's an empty QMD. For now, I'll just put this is where the CV will go. Okay, and then let's make a new one, and we'll call it portfolio, new Quarto doc, portfolio.qmd, and we're going to type here, this is where the portfolio will go. Okay, will go. And last but not least, we need to make a home. However, rather than calling the home just home.qmd, we really should call it index.qmd, because remember that the index is always considered to be the home of a website. At the moment, when I go to this website, this is the home of this website, it is currently the posts page. And that is because if I open the existing index.qmd, you can see it is a listing of posts. So what I'm going to do here is I'll start by renaming this index to index old. And now I can make my new index, and I'll call it index.qmd. Okay. And I'll say this is going to be the home page /index. Okay, /index. All right, so now we've created those 3 files. Let's go back to our Quarto YAML and add them to the menu. So under text here, I'm going to press enter once and then tab, and make sure it's in line with this text. And we're going to define what file we want that page to come from. And the file in this case is going to be index.qmd. Okay. Once you do that, if you go back to your website and refresh it, you will see that now this home is a menu item, and it links to our home page that we created, where we said this is going to be the home page /index. So let's do the same thing now for the portfolio and the CV. Okay. So we grab here and we say portfolio.qmd. Okay. And we grab this again. Make sure you know how to use Control-C, Control-V. Hopefully you know how to do that by now. And then we put a cv.qmd there. Okay, so now we have these 3 pages: home, portfolio, and CV. Okay, and if we click on this button at the top left, that of course will also take us to the home, because our home is appropriately called index.qmd. All right, so now that we have those set up, what do we actually want to put in this website? We want our home page to be the description of who we are. So we want our home page to be what used to be in this about page. See the about page, you have a picture of yourself. We're going to replace this, and then about yourself, and then some links. So that's what we want to actually put in this home page. So let's go into the old about.qmd, and we're going to grab all of this stuff here. So as you can see, this is some special YAML that helps you define a profile page. I'm just going to copy all of this here and take it now to my new home page, index.qmd, and I replace this placeholder text there. So now if I save that and I refresh my page, you can see now the home page takes us to this nice output. And the same thing, if you click on this logo here at the top left, that also brings us to the home page. And we're going to come back and edit this a bit more later on. Let's move on to the portfolio page. So at the moment, the portfolio page just says this is where the portfolio will go. But what we really want it to be is a listing, kind of like what we had in the old index, in index old. Remember, this is some special YAML that creates a listing of contents inside of the posts folder. So I'm going to grab all this stuff from the old index and put it now in my portfolio.qmd. And I save that. And now if I refresh my browser, you can see now that the portfolio brings us to this list of posts. And maybe while we're here, we can change this title to my portfolio. And as you can see, there's a lot of other options you can customize. We're not going to go into this too much, but note that in general, as we're working, you're probably going to need to go online to the Quarto documentation to get more tips on how to make things exactly as you want them. We're just looking at the very surface. So now we have the portfolio. And so the last thing we want to modify a bit is the CV page. So at the moment, the CV page just says, this is where the CV will go. How can we embed a CV actually? So in order to embed a PDF CV here, let's first find some CV. So I'm going to search example CV online, and I'm going to add this search operator file type :PDF. And that tells Google to only give me PDFs, so I can easily find a nice PDF. Okay, this looks like a nice CV. So I'm going to download this. And now I need to put that inside of my project directory. So I'm going to click here on the gear icon and open this in a new window. And then I'm going to copy and paste or drag the CV I just downloaded in here. Of course, in your case, you should use a real CV. And in order to reference that CV on this page, on the cv.qmd page, all we have to do is use the embedding syntax, which is an exclamation point, and then square brackets, and then regular parentheses. And since this is directly in the home folder, I can just type directly cv template.pdf. Okay. And now if I go back to my website and I refresh the CV page, you will see now you have this embedded CV. Of course, it's very ugly at the moment because it's only occupying a small space. To change that, we can put braces here after the parentheses, and then we're going to set some custom styling. So we're going to set the width to 100% of the div. So width equals 100%, no spaces in there. Then one space, and then height equals, and let's set that to 1000 pixels. Okay, and no space in any of that either. And if we save this file and go back here and refresh this, now we have the CV looking better. All right, so we're basically done with our website. We have our home page, which is the index.qmd, and that describes us. We have the portfolio page with some posts, and we have the CV page. So the website is almost ready. Of course, we should modify it a bit to make it look a little bit nicer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But these are all just small aesthetic modifications. And if you want, you can skip over to the part where we actually deploy this to the web. So the modifications I'll make is first, let's edit this about page and put an actual picture of me there. And if you remember, the about page is really the index page, index.qmd. In fact, I can delete this old about page so it doesn't confuse us. Delete that one. And I'll delete the index old as well. Okay. So we have this about page, and let's make some simple modifications. Maybe instead of about here, I'm going to put my name again. And we're going to need to change this profile.jpg to an actual picture of me. So I already downloaded one from the web. All I need to do is click here, show folder in new window, and I'm going to drag in the picture that I previously downloaded. Okay, so here's that image. I drag it in there. It's called prof_pic.jpeg. So I'm going to change my setting here to prof_pic.jpeg, and we save that, and we can delete the old profile because we don't need it anymore. Now, it would be nice to put some kind of description here of who I am. So I can just go to my LinkedIn, Kenan David Mosu LinkedIn. And what I'm going to do is I'll just quickly grab a bunch of the stuff I already have on LinkedIn so I don't have to write some new description. And I'm going to ask ChatGPT or some other model to quickly write me a short intro. Okay. And since I don't feel like logging into ChatGPT now, I'm going to use Hugging Face Chat, which you can use without logging in. So Hugging Face Chat. Okay, I'm going to say below is some text from my LinkedIn. Please write a short bio for my website. Okay, and I paste that in. And I'll just copy maybe the first 2 sentences and we can forget about the rest. All right, so we can update this from about this blog to that description and we save it. And let's go back to our website and refresh this homepage. And that is already looking better. The next thing we can do is update these links to point to my actual profiles. So I'll update this to Ken David N. And I think they really all are Ken David N if I'm lucky. Okay, and of course, if you don't want one of these, you can just delete it. And let me make sure that this one is correct. I'm not sure about that one. No, it's Kenneth David Nwosu. I'll just remove my LinkedIn for now, okay? So I don't waste your time. Okay, so I've updated those, and I should also update these at the top right, okay? And since those are in the menu bar, they're going to be controlled by the Quarto.yml. So here we are in the Quarto.yml. We still have that right section there. About.qmd no longer exists, so let's delete that. The GitHub should be fine. And the Twitter should be fine as well. So now we've updated the homepage. Let's update a bit the portfolio page. So as you can see, there is a welcome to my blog. We can leave that one in there, but maybe we should edit the author because the author says Tristan O'Malley. So we're going to go into posts here and the welcome post and index.qmd. And let's change this to Kenneth David Nwosu. Kenneth David Nwosu. Okay, and that should be fine. So if we refresh the portfolio, we should see it update. Okay, looks like it doesn't update automatically. I may need to wait until I re-render the whole thing, but we'll just leave that for now. And let's move to the post with code and let's change that to an actual post. So post with code, and let's go to that index.qmd. And a portfolio, of course, is where you should show off some of your nice projects. You can either directly paste the relevant code into this QMD file and render it that way, or you can host those in some other place on Google Drive, or maybe you've already rendered an HTML to GitHub pages and you link it directly here. So I'm going to show you that linking workflow just as an example. So here I'm going to say maybe title is analysis of DHS data. And we can change the author to Kenneth David Nwosu. And for categories, there's no news in this category, so we just put code and analysis. Maybe we can add the category of R. So these categories will populate this section here, and that will allow your viewer to filter for your different posts. And we're just going to say this was a project using DHS data. You can find the project here. And we're going to link to some project. In my case, maybe I'll link to this project I worked on a long time ago called demolandscapes.info, where we used DHS data to create these what are called Lexis surfaces, showing mortality over time. And this is, for example, showing the Rwandan genocide using DHS data. So it's quite a fun project, and it would be nice for other people to see that. So I put that in here. One other thing you should add after this is a target equals blank. So it's a little element here, target equals, let me zoom out a bit, target equals, and then in quotes, underscore blank. And that'll make sure that when someone clicks on that link, it will open in a new tab. If you want, you can Google target equals blank to see how that works. And now let's go back to our website and refresh this portfolio page again. Okay, and it doesn't refresh, it doesn't re-render, so I need to click on one of the render buttons here. And now we have the analysis of DHS data. You have the link that you can click to open it in a new tab. And if we go to our portfolio, you see the author has been updated and all of that has been updated. So now we have a nice home page, we have a nice portfolio page, we have a nice CV page. We've updated the relevant links. The final thing we'll do is modify some of the aesthetics of the website. So the easiest way to modify the aesthetics of your website is to just use one of the built-in themes from Quarto. So let's go to our Quarto YAML file, And at the bottom here, you see there's format, HTML theme, Cosmo, and so on. So if you Google search Quarto HTML themes, let's do that, Quarto, or let's say Quarto website themes. And usually the first option should be the correct one, HTML themes. You can see the list of all of the Quarto themes. So you can change it from this default Cosmo to something else. Maybe we'll try maybe one of the dark themes. This cyborg theme I think is dark. Okay, so cyborg. And now we can close this. And now you see you have a nice dark theme. Okay, so that's pretty nice. Okay, but maybe this theme is a bit too dark for me, so I'll temporarily just go back to my Cosmo. And let's refresh that again. So now you see how you can change your themes. Now you see under theme Cosmo, you have CSS styles.css. And hopefully you remember what I said about CSS in the previous lesson. CSS is going to define the styling for your website. There's a lot of default CSS that is currently powering this website. But if you want to put some custom CSS, this is where it will go. For now, I'm going to show you how to put some very simple CSS. But CSS is very complicated. And in general, you'll need to do a lot of Googling or talking to something like ChatGPT 4 to get the right CSS to change different elements. In this case, what I'm going to do is set a pinkish background for my website. And I'm choosing pink here for a reason, because my shirt here is light pink. And so it'll kind of make sense with the aesthetics. So let's find a nice pink we can use there. I'm going to go to color picker, search color picker online. And I'll go to around the pink that it looks like my shirt is, something like that. And I'm going to select a very, very light pink so it's not overwhelming. Okay. All right. So let's grab this one. And here's how we're going to define the CSS rule. We're going to say body, and then we'll open braces. And we say background hyphen color is colon, and we paste in that color there. And now if we go back to our website, you see this background is now pink. So that's a very simple CSS style change you can make. So now our website is basically done. We just need to get it up to the web. We need to get it up on a server, and we're going to use GitHub Pages for that. Now, from the last time when we deployed GitHub Pages, you remember, for example, with this one, you remember that the way GitHub Pages creates the URL is that it puts you the name of your username, so kendavidn-tgc in my case, .github.io, and then the name of the repository. Okay, so this is the home page for the Hello Pages repository. But what we would like for our personal website is for it to just be kendavidn-tgc github.io, and that will be our personal website. In order to do that, GitHub has a special feature where if you make a repo that has the exact same name as your username, then it will use that as your homepage. And that way you have a nice short URL for your homepage. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to open up GitHub Desktop and let's make a new repository, and we call it kendavidn-tgc. Hello, this is Kenna from the future, and I made a small mistake here. So the name of your repository needs to be both the name of your GitHub username, in my case kendavidn-tgc, but also .github.io. So you need this .github.io in order for GitHub to actually pick this up as your home page. And we add an r gitignore to it. Let's add an r gitignore. And we click on Create Repository. And now I'm going to publish that to the web. And make sure to uncheck this option to keep the code private, because we can't publish it if the code is private. So we make it public and we click on Publish. All right, so now that we've done that, we have this repository that has our name in it. But we already created a repository called My Website that has all of the website stuff in it. And we had to do that separately because that is what gives us the Quarto website option. So what we need to do now is actually copy all of the stuff from my website into this kendavidn-tgc. So I'm going to right click here on GitHub and reveal that in my Finder, or that will be called something like Show in Explorer if you're on Windows. Okay. And all I'm going to do is copy over all of these things from my website into kendavidn-tgc. And to make sure I don't make a mistake, I like to make sure that the hidden folders are shown. So on Mac, that is Command Shift and period. And now we see the hidden folders. And on Windows, it'll be in the settings somewhere. You'll need to click on Settings and Show Hidden Folders. But we did that in a previous lesson, so hopefully you still have your hidden folders shown. And so now I'm just going to grab all of this stuff here and drag it into this Git repository. And now I can close my website, and I'll close RStudio. And now this is the new repo we're going to work from, kendavid_ntgc. Let me rearrange it in a list so it's easier to see everything. One final thing you may want to do, it's not absolutely necessary, is to rename this rproj to kendavid_ntgc so it matches, but it's not absolutely necessary. I'll do it in this case, kendavid_ntgc, and I'll double click on this to open it. Now, before we actually push this up to the web to be deployed by GitHub pages, there's one small annoying thing we have to do. So what Quarto does when you render your site is it converts all of your QMD files into HTML files, and it puts them inside of this underscore site folder. If you can't see the underscore site folder, it means your hidden files are hidden. So you need to click here and click on show hidden files. Okay. And if you go into the site folder, you see here's where your actual website is stored, all the HTML files and so on. So each time you render, then the underscore site folder is updated. However, GitHub can only deploy a website from either your home directory or from what's called a docs folder, DOCS. So we're going to have to change this from site to docs. And you could just rename this manually, but you're going to have to keep doing that each time you render. So the best way to change that is under here, project type. We're going to put a new YAML option here that is output-dir. And we're going to set that as our docs folder. Okay, so that's all you have to do. And now if I re-render any of my QMD files, or I click here on build and render website, then you see we're going to create a docs folder here, and that will contain our website. Okay, so if we go back here to files, you can see now that the docs folder has all the HTML files. And so we no longer need this underscore site, we can delete that. And now we're basically ready to send this up to GitHub to be deployed. So let's open our GitHub desktop app and push and commit all of these changes we just made to the kendavid_ntgc repo. Remember when we made the repo, it was empty, but then we copied over all our files from the old my website directory, and we put it in here. So I'm going to say here added website stuff and commit to main and push to origin. And so for our final step, I think you know how to do this. We're going to right click here and view on GitHub. And when we get to GitHub here, we're going to go to the settings and go to GitHub pages. And we're going to deploy the GitHub pages from the main branch. But rather than the root here, we're going to deploy it from the docs folder, docs. And we click on save. And it may take a minute or so to render. We can take a look at what's happening in the actions. And now it seems we actually ran into an error with the deployment. And it's a useful error. So I'm actually going to leave this in the video edit just so you can see how we go through the debugging process. So here it says that the build has failed. And if I click on the show more here, I can read all of these error statements. And all of this looks like it's fine. And at the very end, it says error, no such file or directory, github/workspace/docs. So it looks like it can't find my docs directory. And indeed, if I go back to the web page here, or rather to the home page from my repository, you can see that there's no docs folder. Where's my docs folder? So it looks like there's no docs folder being pushed to GitHub. So maybe I accidentally deleted that folder. So I go back to my RStudio. But here I see that there's a docs folder. So how is there a docs folder here, but it's not on GitHub? It means somehow it didn't get pushed. And one reason why your file may not get pushed is that your gitignore is telling it not to get pushed. And so if we open our gitignore, which we created with GitHub desktop, you remember, you can see that in here actually, there is a docs here. So gitignore is telling GitHub to ignore the docs folder, don't push that. And that way our website is not actually getting up to the web. So we need to remove this. And when we save the gitignore, if we go back to GitHub desktop now, we should now see our docs folder. So all the stuff in our docs folder are now ready to be pushed. And let's say updated gitignore, and added docs. Okay, so commit to main and push origin. And now if we go view this on github.com, we can now see either by going to actions here that the build has been successful, or we can go to settings and pages. And from there, you should see also that the build is successful. And it now says your site is live at kendavid_ntgc.github.io. Okay, and so if I click on this, it takes me now to my new personal website. So congratulations on successfully setting up your online portfolio. Now you need to build out this portfolio with personal projects and analyses. You can take some of the analyses we do as exercises here at the Graph courses and flesh them out into richer documents, and those could be things that go on your portfolio. I wish you the best of luck with that, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.